How do you choose the right microphone for a singer? Today, I'm going to attempt to explain it to you. Hey everyone, I'm Cool Caparoon. Thank you for stopping by for another video. Now this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I've had kind of a hard time figuring out how to give examples of this. And then it hit me, and I think I got it figured out here. So I want to give you a couple sound examples of good microphones and bad microphones on a couple different people. And then I want to talk you through what some of my favorite microphone options are for vocals. Some of my microphones of choice that seem to work on a huge variety of singers, because some microphones are very specific and they sound really good on some people and really bad on other people. And then there's other microphones that sound kind of good on everybody regardless of their style of voice. So I want to talk about that, and we'll just kind of work our way through this, and I hope that this will help you. Now the hardest thing about this is you kind of have to have a bunch of microphones up at the same time. You also have to have them running through the exact same preamps, and this is where it gets really difficult to try out a lot of different microphones in a way that's real meaningful and actually can help you decide. Back in the day, I did some videos at Sweetwater Studios where there's two videos that I'm going to link down below, but I'm going to give you sound examples here in this video. There's a video down below where we did a shootout of every podcast microphone. And me and Andrew Masters both talked through all of them. And it was really interesting how some of the microphones, like the ones that were my favorite on my voice, were not the ones that were my favorite on his voice. And the ones that sounded the worst on my voice were not the ones that sounded the worst on his voice. So I'm going to play you a couple clips here. I'm going to play it all the way through, myself testing all the microphones and then Andrew testing all the microphones. Then we're going to discuss my favorites and my least favorites and why. This is the Earthworks SV33 microphone. This is the Zoom ZD1 microphone. This is the Audio-Technica AT2040 microphone. This is the Audio-Technica AT-BP40 microphone. This is the Earthworks Icon Pro microphone. This is the Rode Podcaster microphone. This is the Samson Q9U microphone. This is the Shure MV7 microphone. This is the Presonus PD70 microphone. This is the Rode PodMic microphone. This is the EV RE20 microphone. This is the Shure SM7B microphone. This is the Shure SM58 microphone. This is the Beyerdynamic M70 Pro X. And this is the brand new Universal Audio SD1 microphone. All right, let's get Andrew Masters in here. See what his voice sounds like on all these.
Okay. 2 fingers. This is the Earthworks SV33. This is the Zoom ZDM1. This is the AT2040. This is the AT-BP40. This is the Earthworks Icon Pro. This is the Rode Procaster. This is the Samson Q9U. This is the Shure MV7. This is the Presonus PD70. This is the Rode PodMic. This is the RE20. This is the SM7B, the greatest mic of all time. This is the SM58. This is the Beyerdynamic M70 Pro X. This is the UA SD1. Okay, now there were 2 that stood out to me as being best for my voice, and there was one that stood out to me as being the worst for my voice. And like I said, it's not the case for Andrew. So my favorite ones on my voice were the Rode Podcaster and the SM7B. Now there's no surprise there with the SM7B. It's a very, very famous microphone, but both of them just sounded like I could have just left it just like that with like no EQ and no compression. And like I would have been perfectly fine that just being the sound. However, all the rest of them would have needed some tweaking to me, and the one that needed the most tweaking on my voice was the Presonus microphone. That microphone is just not well suited to my particular voice. Now, what's interesting is on Andrew's voice, that was not the same. So on Andrew's voice, I really liked the Zoom microphone. I thought that one sounded great on his voice, and the RE20. Both of those, again, I would have just been perfectly happy just pushing the fader up, just leaving them like that. There weren't like problems to fix with those microphones. However, the worst on Andrew's voice
in my opinion, was the Samson. And while I didn't mind the Samson on my voice, I didn't like it on his voice. And what's also funny is the Presonus that I disliked for my voice, I thought was totally usable for Andrew's voice. It would have taken a little bit of EQ, but it was totally fine. And so what I hope that did is give you an example of what to look for. There's another video that I'm going to link down below where I shot out 3 different microphone chains on the same 2 different singers. Go give that a listen and kind of figure out, like kind of listen to the differences between the microphones on the different singers. But what I'm looking for when I'm matching a microphone to a singer is I'm just looking for the most naturally good sound possible. The sound that I need to do the least to in order to make it great sound. If I'm using a microphone that I've got to just mangle with EQ because it sounds too dark or boxy or muddy or harsh or crisp or sizzly, if it's too much of those things, then that's not the right microphone for the singer. And this is one of the reasons why it's a good idea to have a bunch of different microphones. And that's also part of the reason why there's kind of the staples of microphones, because they all are kind of complementary to each other. If you have a 47 and a 67 and an 87 and a 251 and a C12, you've got it all covered. You will not record a singer where one of those doesn't sound absolutely fantastic. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people compare microphones to one of those 5, because those have historically kind of been the standards for what great microphones are supposed to sound like. So what are some of my favorites? Now, one of my all-time favorite vocal microphones, and this is after using a whole bunch of them and having a whole bunch of them, and I've talked about it here on the channel before, is the Auratone Audio Atlantis. I think this microphone is around $1,600 or $1,800. I'll put a link to it down below, but it's just incredible how many singers it sounds fantastic on, how many different styles of vocals, genres, genders, etc., where like you just push the fader up and it sounds great. It has 3 modes on it where it's gentle, neutral, and forward, and so you can really get down into like this kind of softer 47 tone, and then you can really get all the way up kind of almost to a 251 style sound. It also has a very, very large capsule, which helps it never sound harsh. Even if a person's voice is kind of harsh sounding, this microphone doesn't sound harsh in the way that a lot of other microphones do. And so for that reason, it's one of my all-time favorites. It's incredibly versatile, and it just works on pretty much everyone I've ever put it in front of. Now, if you're going for a little bit more vintage character, another microphone that I really love is the TLM67. This is, again, a very affordable microphone in the grand scheme of microphones. I can't remember what the price is, but it's around, I think it's around the same price as the Auratone Audio. I'll put links to the Neumann down below as well. I think the TLM67, I have a whole video on that microphone, so I'll put a link to it down below. I think that microphone is one of the most underrated microphones that Neumann makes because it's really good. It has this kind of interesting vintagey character to it, but it's just a really good microphone. Works on just about everybody I put it in front of. Now, I have a lot of other microphones. If I'm looking for a specific character within a song, if a song calls for a very specific character, then maybe I'm using an old ribbon microphone. Maybe I'm using the Manley Reference Cardioid or something like that if I want this ultra modern sizzly sound. So there are other microphones that I do use, but the Auratone Audio Atlantis and the TLM67 are usually my first choices. And at this point, I can kind of hear someone's character of their voice because I've done microphone shootouts so many times. When they just step in the studio and they start singing, I can hear the character of their voice and I can pretty much nail it. Oh, you're gonna sound great on this microphone, so we're just gonna go ahead and set that up. However, if you have multiple microphones and you don't have that experience yet, shoot them out for every single singer because it's definitely not the most expensive one that's always gonna win. It's whatever one complements the singer's voice the most, so you have to do the least to it because the least amount of EQ that you can possibly do on a vocal, the better the vocal is going to sound. And this is why it's so important to match the microphone to the singer. Hit the links in the description down below to hit those other videos and check that out. I'll also put a link down below to the full podcast shootout microphone, and just watch those and kind of listen to the differences and what you like and dislike about the different microphones. And of course, I will put links down below to all the microphones that I use and that I love, and those links do go to Sweetwater. So thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. Anytime you guys need any piece of musical gear whatsoever, you can jump on any one of my videos, click on any one of the links in the description down below. It costs you nothing extra, but when you do that, it goes a long ways to help support this channel. And so I very, very much appreciate it when you guys use those links. And thank you so much to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. Like I said, 2 of those videos took place in the Sweetwater studios, and I literally could not have done those shootouts here at my place without them. It was impossible. So thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped you. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.